70 partout.
All right, let's get
All right,
into the movie. What was
should
that?
we conclude last week? We'll conclude last week's business by talking about Miller's Crossing.
Yes, exactly. Yes, let me just pull up the synopsis here for y'all. Yeah, Miller Crossing came out in 1990. It's a drama thriller. It takes place um, is it the Prohibition era? No, or is it
Yeah, it's Prohibition era.
okay? It's a Prohibition era. Chicago, I believe it is,
Yeah, I
or
think I think that's
more
right.
likely, yeah. They
I
never
don't think
really
they never really named the town.
right. They never really specify. It's more of a kind of presumed thing that they're talking. You know that this place is like set in Chicago or what have you.
Yeah, a
Oh
typical
well,
gangster.
yeah, because like the whole like the spectacular corruption of the local government. You know, it could only have been Chicago.
Bingo.
Yeah, which we will get into because it is kind of comical. The level of corruption of the local government. There is an instance that I will highlight to illustrate that. But yeah, quickly the synopsis. When the Italian mafia threatens to kill a crooked bookie, Irish mob boss Leo O'Bannon refuses to allow it, chiefly because he's dating the bookie's sister, crafty gun moll Verna Birnbaum. Leo's right-hand man, Tom Regan, is also seeing Verna on the sly, and when he's found out, is obliged to switch sides, going to work for the Italian mob amidst a dramatically escalating gang war over liquor distribution. So yes, as we said, Miller's Crossing came out in 1999, drama thriller, set within Depression era Chicago. Written, is it written? Yes, it was written and directed by the Coen brothers. One of their earlier works. And I don't know exactly where to start off with this.
Well, I'll start off with it's kind of set in the guise of like a neo noir film. It's supposed to be kind of this dark and kind of gritty style story. Similar to like your Chinatown or the great noir films of the past. Um,
or
and
even Untouchables.
yeah, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I really wanted to be invested in this movie and to
Mm-hmm.
like it, but it was so mediocre that
Mm-hmm.
it's like it was kind of it was a very lukewarm movie. Because we've seen some bad movies where it's like it's so bad it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this is just so eh, middle of the road. I mean, the acting is not, it's okay.
Uh-huh.
The story is okay. Um, the cinematography is okay, but that's everything's just kind of okay. It's not bad, but it's not really good either.
Um, I mean I agree with your assessment. Insofar as a lot, that it is pretty, pretty middle of the road, lukewarm attempt. But I think some of the I just was looking and I noticed that Barry Sonnenfeld was the cinematographer, and
Hmm.
for those of you unaware, he also did Men in Black. He was the director of Men in Black.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so and it was interesting because I don't know if you really recall Men in Black, but Um, but just finding that out right now, I like some of the shots uh, were they definitely reveal Barry Sonnenfeld's hand. Like some of like the tracking shots, like when Tom Regan is about is sent into the woods to kill what's his face.
The bookie, Verna's brother.
Yeah,
I forget his name
yeah, me too.
because none of the characters were memorable.
I want to say Bernie.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bernie Birnbaum. Yeah, Bernie Birnbaum. He sent, and then there's a shot, and Tom shows some compassion on him and allows him to run away. And there's the kind of the dolly shot that kind of pans back around as he's running away. That felt very like Barry Sonnenfeld. Like I've seen that before, like in Men in Black.
that that makes sense now. Yeah, now I didn't draw that um
Mm-hmm.
conclusion
Mm-hmm.
when I was watching it, but that actually makes a lot of sense.
Right, and like the shot, like I mean, I think one of the better shots where the mob boss Albert Finney's character Leo, yeah, Leo O'Bannon, when he's attacked in his home, and then he takes he kind of turns the table on his attackers, and then he goes out in the middle of the street and he's like wielding the Tommy gun, and there's like that shot of him like kind of upwards as he's firing the Tommy gun. It's like that seemed very reminiscent of something I seen in Barry Sonnenfeld's work. Well,
Yeah, and that was also kind of like a Men in Black style.
right, yeah, like if you remember the first one where like where Agents J and K they shoot down the alien craft, and it's a shot from like upwards up at the two characters. It's very similar
Yeah,
to this movie in the scene that I just referenced.
okay. I would say that's probably the best scene in the film is the
Mm,
attack on Leo O'Banion.
mm,
That's where I was like, okay, all right, now we're getting somewhere. All right, and then that was the kind of the last like really exciting scene in the film.
mm. Right. And yeah, and I thought Miller's Crossing, the title of the movie, would be more significant, uh, especially because a lot of TV shows and a lot of well, specifically TV shows, they use that title very often as well. Um,
Yeah, like it was mentioned not even like a full handful of times, and
right, and it just
outside
turns
of it
out
being a place where they made people disappear.
right, exactly. And so and I thought in again because I haven't seen the movie up until this point. Um, but I thought Tom Regan would have been Miller, like, and I thought his name would have been Miller as well. So then, it might have been because in a weird way, or not weird, but it may be a more artful way. Um, it could have been like a double meaning because, you know, if let's say Tom Regan, his last name was Miller, so Tom Miller went to Miller's Crossing
Right,
and he had to make a decision, and he made that decision, kind of like the old adage of like crossing the Rubicon. There's no turning back after you cross the Rubicon.
right.
And I think and then that there was like a double meaning where Tom Miller goes to Miller's Crossing and he decides not to kill Bernie Birnbaum. That could have been like kind of like the uh,
So like
kind of
he has a
the
character
linchpin of the
change.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
like
had
where he
like
has a
yeah.
character change going from
Mm-hmm.
kind of this mob, you know, mob hand to you kind of being a more of a heroic figure
Hmm.
and having to deal with the consequences of that.
Right. I mean, it still could work because it could, it's still like where everything changed for Tom Regan. It's like he chose not to cross that line. He chose not to, because up until that point, and it's interesting because Tom Regan is afforded this gravitas within the criminal underground where everyone likes him or respects him, but we don't really see him. Um, we don't really see why. He's not like like to reference Godfather. He's not like a Luca Brasi character where we know that Luca Brasi is the muscle, and so people respect him because they fear him. But
He's more like Tom in
Tom
The
Hagen, yeah,
Godfather
yeah,
than
yeah,
Luca
yeah,
Brasi.
right. Tom Hagen, it's a Robert Duvall's character, the lawyer
Right,
consigliere, the right hand of Don Corleone. Uh, uh, but then even for Tom Hagen, it's a different kind of respect, um, as opposed to Tom Regan's character, where that there's like there's like that people give there's supposed to be this gravitas around him, and he's supposed to be you know kind of like the lion tamer or the snake charmer that that Leo O'Bannon only listens to him. But like
right.
I don't necessarily see why that would be. I'm not fully sold on I'm not fully sold on Tom Regan's reputation.
We're not really given anything to about like how he earned that reputation or
Right. It's kind of
um,
like the whole Baba Yaga thing in John Wick, where there's a story behind why people fear John Wick. Um, because he did like
right.
this. He did the impossible. He garnered like all these kills in a single night. But for Tom Regan, there isn't a comparable story. Um, it's just like
Because
he
if you
just
really
he
think about it, the thing um, about him is that it almost seems like he's never killed anyone. Um,
hmm
and
hmm
because the whole point, he would, as he had kind of crossed sides, from one crime family to another,
hmm
he was asked kill the um, to kill Bernie, but he
hmm
didn't want to do it. That's why
right.
he was hesitating, meaning that he's probably never killed anyone
hmm
until like the you know it will get to the point where he actually finally does kill somebody. But up to that point, I don't think he'd ever killed anybody
Right.
and
Or
didn't want to do it.
there
So
was
and
an extra sense of hesitation because Bernie was Verna's brother, the girl that he's sleeping with, behind his boss's back.
right, right.
Um, but yeah, but what you said, how it seems like he's never killed anyone. That sounds more right though.
Yeah, it just because I didn't see it as a hesitation because of Verna or anybody. I saw it
Hmm.
more as a hesitation because like, how can I get out of this?
Right. Yeah. Because yeah, again, like you said, hesitation wasn't out of some sort of loyalty to either Bernie or Verna, but just more like I never killed anyone. This isn't the thing that I'm hired for.
Right.
So which makes
And,
it
but like, well, it makes it to me. The point I was trying to make is that why I find his character a little bit unbelievable is because how did he get so high up in this, you know, mob family that he's never killed anyone? That seems kind of
right.
like ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. No one is part of the mob that doesn't have a body. You know. Um, I mean, again, I guess you can make the. I mean, to make an exception in Godfather, Tom Hagen. He didn't. He's probably never killed anybody. But he's still afforded a level of respect.
But it's believable in with his character.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with him being kind of a lawyer who, but he grew up with, he was adopted by the Corleone family.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he's in a highly respected position helping the family makes a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. 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 Yeah. So I think one of the issues was just about this movie was just the really poor character development. Um, but again, even though there was a lot of, well, at the time they weren't that big, but they would eventually become like pretty big names like John Turturro, freaking who's that guy? Uh, Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi's in this movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean Albert Finney, but he's Albert Finney, so.
Yeah. Um, those are the eventual big names that I could remember from.
Mm, right. I think at least out of the cast that's shown here on the internet, yeah, those are the only like big names that were to come out of this movie.
But yeah, the just this film, I just I don't know. I think I was disappointed because I tend to like this genre of film,
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
fact that I don't feel like it lived up to it. Like it didn't give me enough to care about these characters.
Right. It just missed the mark. I mean, stylistically and technically, they were all solid movies, but in terms of the story and like the development of the characters, it just was lacking.
Yeah, yeah, that's how I would put it. Yeah,
Um,
like I said, so I mean, for me, like the memorable scenes were the um, was it Leo when he was attacked in his home? That was a really good scene.
mhm.
Um, and that's really it because the end scene was not, or the last couple of scenes in the film really kind of were anticlimactic in a way,
Hmm.
because you have so eventually, Tom does end up killing somebody. He kills Bernie
Hmm.
because that guy is freaking off his rocker, and probably he deserved to be killed. He was yeah,
Yeah,
the
I
guy that
mean, he
was
was not like he wasn't. I mean, in a movie full of mobsters, he had like the least. He's the least ethical
yeah
of the characters. He was like, even though Tom totally did him a favor and not killed him. He came back and was
yeah
trying to blackmail him. Um, so
exactly
like he demonstrates that he has no like loyalties. Um, that he's totally in it for himself. And he really is like a waste of skin.
yeah. I mean that was kind of the argument that the the mob boss was making at the beginning of the film.
Hmm.
It's like I need to get this guy whacked. he's terrible. There's no ethics behind him.
That's
And it's like,
right.
yeah,
That's right. Ethics. Ethics.
that was his main thing, was ethics, and
Hmm.
he could, and the fact is he was right, because that guy was Bernie was awful, and that was kind of the whole strain, was this kind of triangle of people going against each other,
Hmm.
all against kind of the same person who,
Right.
he's Leo doesn't want to kill him because he's, stripping his
Yeah, Verna's
sister.
brother. Yeah, Verna's brother,
Um,
and the Italian mob boss wants to kill him because he's like scamming him, off of off of bets,
and then
and
like Tom wants to have him. Tom doesn't, want to support him because it's going to keep the peace if he's dead. So, and then you have the other guy who's like supremely angry about it with this guy, and it's like, listen, he's going to make you a lot of trouble. Don't, just grant him this request, and didn't happen.
yeah, and it's interesting also like well, I mean, I referenced it earlier, but like the kind of the shifting power dynamics and like the corruption that was so rampant within Chicago at that time, where in the beginning, the mayor and the chief of police, they were meeting with Leo Bannon. But
Yeah,
after some like some misfortune befalls him, or some perceived weakness, they switch sides and they go meet with the Italian mob boss, Johnny Casper.
yeah, that's right.
And so and like when Tom is initially approached by Johnny Casper's people to come and join their side, the cops are right there, Johnny on the spot to get his ass out of danger. But when again the fortunes the power dynamic shifts, and he's caught up by Leo's people, it's the cops are there again to rescue him under the orders of Johnny Casper.
Yeah, it's funny how, as it was essentially a mob run city, and the
Hmm.
officials were kind of like, were the lackeys, and kind
Right,
of,
right, right. Yeah, and like to the point where after the the mayor and the chief of police came under the thumb of Johnny Casper. Johnny Casper tried to get two of his relatives into city government. I forget
yeah,
what position, but he's like, oh, you're not the mayor. I'm the mayor. And like get out of my office. Even though it was the mayor's office, he ordered the
yeah,
mayor to leave his own office.
yeah, exactly. And that's Chicago politics for you. It's been corrupt as fuck for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, or yeah. Um,
Anything else you kind of remember about the film that that caught your mind, or something you liked or didn't like?
um, no, yeah, I think that I did find it a little weird that Tom was so easily able to manipulate these two warring factions and come out of the barely scathed. Um,
Yeah, that
and
was
to the
that was
point,
weird
and
too.
yeah, and to the point where like at the end, Leo kind of forgives him and even asks him to come back and work for him. Um,
Yeah, and it's like it didn't sit right with me, because none of it felt right as far as a story.
mhm.
Um, And even like the shifting dynamics, like it wasn't like they kind of made it more convoluted than needed to be,
Mhm.
and you kind of don't care about the characters, so you're like, I don't know, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, you're just not invested uh, in these characters or what's going on or how anything really shakes out.
But yeah, no, it was yeah, highly mediocre film, unfortunately. I really wanted to like it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
You know, and the box office reflected its mediocrity. It flopped.
Mm. Not surprising. Not surprising.
Yeah, I think it lost. Like it didn't even make
Didn't make its budget
half of
back.
the back. Yeah, it didn't even like it. I think it was like I want to say it was like they put in, was it like 10 or 11 million on the film, maybe more.
Uh, Budget was 10 to 14 million, but
That's right. Yeah,
but with probably with because they don't include the advertising budget, so probably be closer to 20 million.
yeah, and it didn't even make half of it back.
It made a quarter. It made $5 million.
Yikes.
Jeez.
That's gonna be a little bit of a mini theme in tonight's films.
Yes. Although a happier ending for the latter.
That is true.
Yeah. All right, let's give our ratings. I'll go first.
All right.
I'm gonna give this movie a two.
You know, I was gonna give it a two as well.
Hmm.
I'll throw it a bone. I'm gonna give it a two as well. I'll throw it a
Okay.
bone. Just because I honestly I want to go 1.5 so bad. Um,
uh-huh.
but it's not even like yeah, it's one of those weird things. Like I almost wish it was so bad that it was
Hmm.
good, because then it's
Right.
like I could give it more stars just because like I liked it a lot more,
Uh-huh.
or I could at least laugh at it. But I don't know. There's something about like it's just lukewarm. It's just ugh, it's unpleasant. Um,
Yeah. I get
so
it.
yeah, I'll give it a two. Um, really nothing spectacular about the film. Not a lot of, it's not bad acting, but nothing really stands out. The You're not really given a whole lot of background on the characters. Just yeah. I mean, if you're a Coen Brothers fan, I think you should watch it. If you're a fan of the noir genre, this is a movie you should watch. And if yeah, I mean, give it. You can give it a watch for those reasons, um, and see for yourself. Maybe you'll like it more than us. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll think like, God, 2 stars, man. You guys are being really generous. It's like a half star.
I don't know. I think my 2 star is it's very appropriate. It's not. It's not. It's It's not. I'm not slamming it for slamming. For slamming it, and but I'm
Yeah,
not like. But I'm not. But I'm not pissing on it either.
we're giving it's first crossing, if you will.
Exactly. Yeah. We're. um. Yeah, there you have it. That's our review for Miller's Crossing. Robert and I both give it a two, although Robert gives his two begrudgingly. Like Robert said, if you're a Coen Brothers fan, yeah, you should definitely watch this out just to see, where kind of see like their evolution, to see like where they came from to like where they hit their stride.